what did we discuss last week and where did we stop? I want us to start from there. Yeah, say something. On where we stopped last week. You people, were you not taking some notes?
We start on
How to
manage risk.
how to manage risks. So the growth of risk management. So we talked about risk appetite and all. All right. I think we also discussed features of risk management, didn't we? Features of risk management, where we said first of all we have to identify the assets to be protected. We did, right? And after identifying, then we identify the actual threats to the risks. We did that, didn't it? From there, we went on to look at the controls, applying the controls that will help us to mitigate the risks that are there. Anyway, now today, as we are proceeding, let us look at decision making in a risk environment or in a risk situation. So, in other words, if you're writing, you can just say decision making under risks. Decision making under risks. So that's what that's where we are starting from today. Now, in an environment, a business environment, that is, there are situations through which you, as the management of that particular company or an organization, you may be forced to take some decisions. You may be forced to make some decisions in as far as risk management is concerned. So here we are going to look at the situations and the conditions at which the risk managers can take those decisions. There are two situations here. One, there's a situation whereby you are taking decisions with certainty, and there's another situation where you take decisions with uncertainty. When you are saying taking a decision with certainty, it means you are certain or you fully understand the problem that is there or the risk that is there, and after understanding the risk that is there, you also understand the alternatives or the solutions to that problem that is there. In that situation, it's like now you fully understand what's going on, and when you are taking a decision, you are taking that decision under certainty. So a condition of certainty exists when the decision maker knows with reasonable certainty that the alternatives are, what conditions are associated with each alternative, and the outcome of that particular alternative. We're together on that one, eh? So here's the risk, it has happened, and you fully understand it. You know exactly what that risk is all about, and probably the extent of it, the degree of it, the depth of it, the seriousness of it, you fully understand. At the same time, you also understand the alternatives or the solutions on what to do and how that solution can be applicable to the problem that is there. So, under conditions of certainty, accurate, measurable, and reliable information on which to base the decisions is always available or are always available. In the conditions of certainty, since you know what's going on and you know what you're supposed to do, accurate, measurable, and reliable information on which to base the decisions are always available. Because before you come up with that decision, you have to understand the things that are there. So since we are operating under condition of certainty, it means all those information is there, and you are able to say, this decision that I'm making here is an informed decision, because I'm making, from the basis of the knowledge that I have. Now, there is another situation whereby you are forced to make a decision, but you are not fully sure of what's going on, and of course, you are not 100% certain of the alternatives that you need to employ. there is an accident has happened, or there is a risk that you are seeing that is going to affect your business. Now you as a decision maker, you have no choice but to find ways through which to mitigate that kind of a risk or that kind of a problem. Now, seeing that, you are forced to still take some decisions that will help to minimize the impact of the risk that is there. But now, you are in a situation of uncertainty. Alright, so we are saying with a situation or a condition of uncertainty, it's like, gentlemen, why can't you sit a bit closer? Maybe you just push a little bit, come this side. Because I feel like you are a bit out. Alright, so you're just joining us. Now we are of course just starting here, of which I will still extend my reminder that let's try as much as possible to be time conscious, at least to be here by 10:15. That's much better for us, you know. Alright, so we are saying here we are discussing decision making when it comes to risk management. Now, this decision making is done by the risk managers or else the executives or whoever is responsible for leading that particular organization. Now, these people at times they may be forced to take some decisions in regards to the risks that are there. It's either the risk has already happened or else you are seeing that you may be facing a risk as you go ahead. So you as a risk manager, you'll be forced to take such decisions. Now, we are saying there are two situations here. There are some situations whereby you take a decision under conditions that are so certain. So we say decisions with certainty. Now, decisions with certainty, these are kind of decisions that are taken after you as a manager, a risk manager, you fully understand the risk that is there. And of course, you understand the alternatives that can be taken and the outcome that will be realized from the alternative that you are going to take. So it's like you are so certain, you are so sure of what is happening and the solution to it. So the decisions that are taken in conditions of certainty mostly are always accurate because at least you are pretty sure. In short, we can say you are taking that decision from an informed point of view. So that's one. Then there is another situation whereby you take decisions under conditions of uncertainty. Now, under conditions of uncertainty, it means the risk is there. You have seen it, it has happened, or else it's going to happen, but you are not 100% sure of the depth of it, probably the seriousness of it, and actually the extent of its damage to your business. You're not so sure, but you know that this is a risk. So now you have no choice, but you are forced to take a decision to deal with that kind of a risk. So even the solutions that you're going to take obviously you're not even sure. So it's like there are also solutions of uncertainty. But still more, you have to take a decision. Why are you taking this decision? What decisions are these ones that we're talking about? These are the decisions that will help you to avert the damage that the risk is going to cause to your business, or else to ease the impact of the risk, the impact on your business. So it's either the risk has already happened or it is going to happen. But to prevent serious disruptions to whatever your operations you have to take such decisions. But now you are taking decisions on a problem that you don't fully understand, on a problem, even on a solution that you don't fully understand. Now, normally in today's world, in today's business world, a lot of things are always very complex, or in other ways, they are always very complicated. Now, in such complex activities or in such complicated business environment, it is always very difficult for you as a business player to take a decision that is 100% certain. So most of the decisions that are taken today in today's business environment, they fall under this category of decisions under uncertain circumstances. Why? Because not everybody is sure of what is happening, and not everybody is sure of the solution that is going to happen there. So here we are told to say most significant decisions made in today's complex business environment are formulated under a state of uncertainty. So conditions of uncertainty exist when the future environment is unpredictable and everything is in a state of a fix. Due to rapid changes in probably technologies and the taste of customers, the preference of customers, the business environment cannot be predicted 100%, because today customers may be loving this kind of a product or maybe may be liking this kind of a service, but you cannot predict for certain that tomorrow people will like the same thing, because people's tastes and preferences keep changing day by day, and again the technologies keep changing day by day. Now, because of that, since you are not certain whether the customers will like this thing tomorrow or whether customers will be using this very same technology tomorrow, you are always in a state of uncertainty. Now, to avoid some damages that can be caused by some risks along the way, you take some bold decisions, yet in a situation that you are not so sure, but you are just saying, okay, in case this one happens, business yatu sizaima tizapitirirabe. In case ichitanga kuti yachitika ichi, business yatu sizaima izapitirabe. Koma chomwe chiti chitika icho sukuchidziwa kwenikweni, you are not so sure. Why? Because you don't know what happens tomorrow. We are living in an environment that is keeping changing. Now, since we are saying in most businesses and most significant decisions are taken under these conditions of uncertainty, there are always some approaches that are employed or that are used in order to make those decisions under uncertain circumstances. So we shall proceed and see those approaches that are pursued in order to come up with those decisions under uncertain circumstances. So we have modern approaches to decision making under uncertainty. Now, there are three approaches here. One, we call it risk analysis. That's one approach. These are modern approaches to decision making under uncertainty. If you want to make some decisions in a situation that you are not so sure of, but still more, you want to achieve the result that you want to achieve. Because the result that you want to achieve here is minimization of the impact from a risk that can happen to your business, but you are not so sure about the risk and you are not so sure about the solution. So you employ these risks that are here. So these approaches that are here. One of it is risk analysis. That's one thing. The second thing is we call it decision tree, and another one is preference theory. There are three things here: risk analysis, decision tree, preference theory. These approaches. Okay. Just keep that one aside. You have taken those notes. We'll get to that one as we proceed. We'll get to that one as we proceed. Okay. Now, the next thing that we are going to see here, while that one has been put aside, is the importance of risk management. One will still be asking, why do we make this noise risk management, and of course risk management? Why is this risk management so important? Okay, Risk management in every business entity or business activity and whatever you are doing in your organization has always been one of the most integral part of your operations, because without it there are of course a lot of dangers that are going to happen to your business and of course to you as an individual. So to see those dangers and to see how important this thing is, let us look at some few points that we have in here. One thing here is risk management helps to reduce uncertainty. This one helps to reduce uncertainty. How does this happen? Okay. Uncertainty in any form is bad for business. And by its definition, it is difficult to quantify. Uncertainty is difficult to quantify. You are in your business. Okay. In a business, in an ideal situation, you always have your projections. And as per your projections, you always see your business growing. That is in an ideal situation. You always say, no, I will start small. Komano, with time, I will be doing some promotions and all. Then you better want to have my customer, then my business will be growing. This kind of customer, I'll be making a lot of money. And of course, my business is going to be expanding. That is in an ideal situation. But again, you also know at the back of your mind to say there are always uncertainties that can always happen to my business and can disrupt those my projections. So in view of that, the application of risk management systems can help you to avert those uncertainties. Now, there is one guy, we know him, his name is called Warren Buffett. This one once said, risk comes from not knowing what you are doing. So if you don't know what you are doing, the chances are you are going to face some risk in one way or the other. So if you put some risk management measures in place, definitely you'll be able to avert those unknown situations. Those unknown situations are the ones that we call risks. So you put measures in place to avert or to prevent those ones. Or else if they happen, but at least you're going to minimize the impact that they could have caused. Therefore, what we are trying to say here is understanding the internal and external aspects of your business organization is an important part or is an integral part of knowing how to protect it. So the first thing is to understand the outside and the inside factors that can affect your business operations. By knowing those factors, whether external or internal, it will help you to put measures in place to prevent them or to avoid them. So the more knowledge you have about such factors, the lesser the threats posed by uncertainty to your business. That's one thing. Then there is a second thing. This one is it is crucial for successful planning. It is crucial for successful planning. What is this thing that is crucial? Risk management. Mind you, we are still discussing the importance of risk management to your business. So it helps you to successfully execute the planning of your business. Last time we mentioned something to do with strategic plan. We say there is no business that can succeed without planning. So first of all, you must have proper planning in place. You must have a strategic plan in place. So if you first of all identify the risks that are associated with the kind of business that you want to go into, or maybe with the kind of activities that you want to embark on, if you understand those risks, when you are writing your plan is likely going to be successful. Why? Because you include those risks there, and of course you include the measures that you are going to use to cushion your business, or maybe to protect your business from the risks that it is likely going to face. So the plan that you are going to write is going, or maybe the strategic plan that you are going to write is going to be successful. Why? Because you already identified the risks beforehand and you are putting the measures in place beforehand. When you are writing your business plan or business strategy, or else when you are just setting up your business, there are always projections that I just mentioned. You always say, all right, probably I'll be producing 1,000 pieces of these products that I want to be producing per week or maybe per month. Now I'll be selling at so much price, and probably this is so much profit I'm going to be realizing from each one of these items. So it means by the end of probably 6 months, I'll make so much money. And probably by the end of the year, I'm going to expand my business with so much percentage. It can be 10% or 20%. That is according to your projections. But now, if you are doing these projections without considering the risks that you may face along the way, at the end of the day, your strategic plan is going to be a flop at the end of the day. Because along the way, you're going to meet some risks. Zimene zingakupange derail. Kapena kuti zimene zingabwezese mbuyo and ukukaningisa kuti achieve those goals that you had according to your strategic plan. So, in other ways, if you go back, you look at your strategic plan, you say, my strategic plan hasn't been successful. I was a flop or was a failure. Ask yourself or say to yourself, why is it a flop? Why is it a failure? It is because you overlooked some other important things, and those some other important things are nothing but the risks. So putting risk management measures in place before drawing your strategic plan will make your strategic plan more successful. We are clear on that one. So risk management is important. Why? Because it helps you to ensure that your planning or your strategic plan is successful, and you, of course, will succeed. Now, what happens if you ignore risk management entirely in your operations? If you do this, everything that you do will carry with it a high chances of failure. Because it's like now, in this case, risk management tikuyang'ana ngati now kuti ndi mwina light kapena kuti torch imene ifuna ikutsogolereni mmene mfuna muyende. No, mmene mufuna muyendemo munjira mmene mfuna muyendemo ndi strategic plan imene tikunena. But now if you don't have that light to show you to say, okay, apo pali mwala, apo palicho, apo palicho, the chances are high that you're going to fail. You end up yourself in the bush. So here it helps in successful execution of your strategic plan. Then there is another importance here, and this is that of helping you to improve your reputation. Risk management helps to improve your reputation. This reputation can be of your own as a person, and of course the reputation of your business. But in this case, we are more concerned with the reputation of your business. Now, if you do not put proper measures in place of avoiding some risks, or maybe of mitigating yourself against some risks, the chances are high that you are facing this risk of reputation, or what we call reputation risking. Now, one way through which you can cushion yourself, from this problem, from this risk, what we call reputation risk, is to do what we mentioned last time. We called it doing due diligence. When you are dealing with some other players in the supply chain, or probably your suppliers or your customers, whoever is you are dealing with, first of all, you have to do this what we call due diligence. You have to know those people that you are dealing with. By knowing those people that you are dealing with, what you are doing there is now what we call risk management. Is one of the risk management measures, by knowing who you are dealing with. This one will help you to avoid this risk that we call reputation risk. It can happen to say you are running your restaurant here or your butchery here, and you have the suppliers who are supplying you with, let's say, chickens or beef or whatsoever, in your restaurant. If you did not take time to know those people, if you did not do what we call due diligence, it can be possible to say maybe those people, they are stealing chickens from elsewhere and they are supplying you. Now, once it has been discovered that you were using stolen chicken from elsewhere, yet you were not the one who was stealing chickens from elsewhere, but since you were buying stolen chicken from elsewhere and preparing meals for your customers around here, that reputation can go far and wider, and it can affect your business, because people will be saying, yet maybe it's not you, who is stealing chickens from elsewhere, but you are buying from somebody who is a thief. So it was always good for you to know that customer before engaging him. So by knowing the customer before engaging him, this is what we call due diligence. And due diligence is an example of risk management. So since you did that and you prevented yourself from dealing with those who you consider to be mischievous or to be thieves or whatsoever, you have helped to prevent this reputation risk. So risk management helps to improve your reputation. So via this example, we can see that the risk management measure we used here was due diligence. Now another importance of this one, risk management, is it helps to reduce expenses and losses. It helps to reduce expenses and losses. How? If you do not put proper controls in place, the chances are you're going to be overspending or you're going to be spending anyhow without knowing that you are losing your money at the end of the day. So putting the measures in place, one, it will help you to reduce unnecessary expenses in your day-to-day operations, one thing. The second thing here is it will help you to reduce the losses. So risks can be divided on the nature of their impact on your finances. Income risk and expenses risk, just like that. So any events or mishaps that reduce your productivity or your ability to provide services to your clients will result in loss of income. So there are a number of things that can lower probably your productivity. For example, power failure. You are a producer of some products, and of course you are using this kind of electricity here. Definitely during power failure, the chances of producing as per your goals can always be affected. So the best you do is at least to have an alternative. Now forget about the alternative. Before you come in with an alternative, you always have your projections. You say, okay, every day I'll be producing 100 pieces of whatever I'm producing. Now, due to power failure, the chances are high that you are not going to achieve your goal of producing 100 pieces of something. Otherwise, you'll be producing 20, 30, 40, or 50. So you are underproducing. It's like productivity has been affected. Now, since productivity has been affected, the chances are the revenue will also be affected. So it's like your revenue or your income is decreasing. Why? There is power failure here. There is underproduction or underproductivity due to power failure. Now, knowing that in this process, in this business activity that I am embarking on, at some point I shall face a situation of power failure. What do? Let me put alternatives in place. So by putting alternatives in place, that is another risky management measure. Let me buy some probably gensets, or maybe let me have solar electricity here. Those are alternatives. So by bringing those alternatives, what are you doing? Those are part of risk management measures. Now, what are those risk management measures are helping you? They are helping you to maintain productivity so that your income or your revenue should not be reduced. So it helps to reduce expenses and losses. Then we have here another importance that is worth considering. This one, risk management reduces unexpected events. It reduces unexpected events. Most people do not like surprises, and of course, especially business people do not like surprises, because you have to know what is going to happen ahead of you, and if necessary, you have to put measures of cushioning yourself against those shocks or against those misfortunes that can happen along your way. So when it comes to organizational impact, nobody likes surprises. So a risk manager's goal is to map out all potential risks and work to prevent them or best manage them. So It's impossible to think of every possible risk scenario and address them all. Of course, this is true. You cannot think about all the risks that can happen and of course address all of them. But at least you should have an idea to say, okay, these are the most likely risks that can happen to our organization or to our business. So in case of this happens, okay, we shall cushion ourselves in this way or that way. For example, there are basic or simple risks that everybody will always say this can happen. We have the risk of fire or fire accident. Everybody knows that probably in a factory or in a warehouse, the chances are at some point you can have fire breaking out, or else something similar to that due to maybe electricity connections and some other things. Issues to do with theft. Everybody knows to say at some point we may be a victim of theft. Somebody can come in and want to help himself. Okay, so let us try to put measures in place. Those are some of the risks that can be predicted, isn't it? But there are some risks that cannot be predicted. So what we are being told here is, at least if we put risk management measures in place, we can reduce some of those unexpected events. Not all of them, but at least some of them. So okay, Nkania model, why can't we find fire extinguishers? Declare now we should have them handy. In case of anything, someone shall pick one of these ones and put off the fire. Why can't we put barbed wire here or electric fence? Those are some of the ways through which you are only reducing those unexpected events, because you know that at some point they may happen, though you don't know when and how. Some of those risks that cannot be predicted, of course you cannot predict, but as long as at least you have put some measures to caution yourself against some of those risks, the better for you. So one thing is this one. Now, another importance of this risk management is that of creation of financial benefits. Risk management creates financial benefits. Now, let's look at this. The risk department should not be viewed as a cost center for the organization. In fact, it directly creates value. You have this organization that we have here, and we have the risk department, and it is headed by the risk manager. Oh, we're going to die. Oh, excuse me. Just close me. So those are the risks that we are talking about. Imagine what could have happened here. Disaster. So I don't know what could be the risk management measures that we could have employed in this case. All right, okay. Let us proceed. So we are saying here is an organization, and we have the risk department that is responsible for managing the risks or any kind of risk that can happen here. Now, then it is claimed here that risk management creates financial benefits. They say risk management creates financial benefits. Does the risk management department create financial benefits, and how? Look here. We are saying risk management creates financial benefits. So we are trying to look at a situation whereby an institution like this one, here where we are, this is our institution. Then we have a department that is responsible for managing the risks. Now they are claiming to say risk management creates financial benefits to this, our organization. How is this possible? Do they do the sales? How does this department create financial benefits? If anybody can just guess something. You want to say something?
Let's say we do a medical fee, and in case for the whole year, I didn't get sick, so this institution is benefiting for that medical fee.
Okay. We might have heard what she said. Are you guys agreeing with this lady here? Are you agreeing with her?
Yes.
You gentlemen, don't just say yes. Justify, because her justification did not convince me. Maybe somebody can convince me. How does risk management in an organization helps to create financial benefits for that organization?
Let's say in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
let's say we are opening 5,000 quarters for health insurance at the university.
Okay.
By the end of the year, no one of us had a quarter of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That simply means the university has benefited 5,500.
Okay, so you are looking at it from that perspective. Okay, so you're saying, okay, now they are what we call a financial benefits, because through that insurance scheme. That's what you're saying, right? Okay, probably that one also makes sense. Of course, that one makes sense, and of course, you can also look at it in this way. We are saying risk management helps to reduce the losses and unnecessary expenses, isn't it? So it's like you are not spending much. If you are not spending much, definitely the income that you are making is there, it sits there with you. So it's just a direct opposite of that one also. Risk management helps to reduce unnecessary expenses and of course losses. At the same time, it helps you to create the financial benefits. Why? Because you're not spending much. Instead, the income stays with you in there. So here, let's understand it in this way to say the risk department should not be viewed as a cost center for the organization. That's very true, because the risk department doesn't do the sales and everything. It is only there to reduce the impact of the risks. However, risk managers can spot high frequency events and work to minimize repetitive losses. So if you are minimizing the losses or the repetitive losses, it's like you are saving the company's money or the company's resources. So in that way, it's like now you are benefiting so much from the risk management activities done by the risks department. We'll get on that one. Risks department ikuseka zibo zimene ndrama zimatulukira, and because of that ndrama zikusungika mene mungu. Those are the financial benefits your organization is getting. Of course, risk management also saves time and effort. It saves time and effort. Employees at all levels spend time submitting data to the risk management department when incidents occur. These tasks are often completed in disjointed and inefficient ways. So by streamlining these tasks, the risk department is able to alleviate the burden of tedious data submission from employees. On that one, let me just relate another simple and direct illustration on time saving and of course the saving of effort. If you have risk management measures already in place, the chances of saving time and effort when dealing with situations once they occur, the chances are always higher. So I wanted to relate something, put like an illustration. You have a trucking company that you are responsible for carrying people's goods from here to elsewhere. Or else you are a producer and you have your customers elsewhere. You have trucks that are responsible for the deliveries. If you have, if you do not have risk management measures in place, this is what is going to happen. You have dispatched one of your trucks, is going to say Chipata to deliver whatever they are delivering that side, and there is a breakdown. From that breakdown, if you do not have measures in place already, it will take you a lot of time to go there for an intervention. You have gotten a phone call to say we have a breakdown, muna panchinji kabina kuna wagense wamene hoho. Gamu lyati onongeka ndekuti nkhani ukachita deliver katundu kuti ukachita deliver katundu ichitika koma ichitika mochero. What do we do? Tipeza alternative yona kuti katundu tikamutenge tipitirize ulendo. Now if you had measures in place already, risk management measures in place, it will be easier for you to respond to whatever problem is there. So it will save you a lot of time and of course the effort. Unlike the situation whereby you didn't have any measures in place, it will be now time for you to start moving up and down looking for an alternative. That one will take a lot of time and of course it will take a lot of effort. So if you already have these measures there in place, it will be easier for you. It will consume less time and of course it will consume less effort. So that's another importance of this one. What else? This one also, it helps to improve communication. Now, risk management helps to improve communication. Now, in an organization, we have two types of communication depending on the direction of the communication. We have this kind of communication that we call it horizontal kind of communication in an organization, and we have this kind of communication that we call vertical. Now, with horizontal kind of communication, this is a communication that is always done amongst the departments that are at the same level, or probably amongst the employees at the same that are operating at the same level. That is horizontal kind of communication. Then there is vertical communication. Normally, this one is the kind of communication that is top down or down top. It's top down or down top. From the CEO, for example, we have the CEO, the manager. He writes a memo and is sent down to the employees, giving them instructions or guidance or some sort of, that kind of communication is what we call vertical communication. Whereas horizontal communication is the kind of communication, for example, you write memos and you send them across to different departments that are operating at the same level. So, when risk management systems are always in place and they are intact, this kind of communication is always easy, or it is easily understood by whoever is the recipient of that kind of communication. There is an emergency that is happening. Let's say the rains are coming, or else there is a fire scare elsewhere. Then somebody drafts a memo and is sent to all the employees down there, whether it is in a horizontal kind of a setup or in a vertical kind of setup. It will be easy for whoever is receiving that communication to understand what's going on. Why? Because the risk management measures were already in place and people understood. One of the risk management measures that we also discussed last time was the creation of awareness. One way through which risk management can be enhanced is the creation of awareness. Now, in this case, these people are aware of what is happening and how best to handle the situation. So once they are being communicated into, it will also be easier for them to understand the communication that they are receiving. Why? Beforehand, they understood what is going on or what was likely going to happen. So without these management measures in place, it will be difficult. It will take time for these people to understand the kind of communication they are receiving or they are getting. Risk management prevents reputation issues. We have seen this one. And of course, it helps to guide decision making. Okay, fine. All right. Now, as we are proceeding, let us also look at this other thing. In an organization, or in an organization set up like this one, basically we have two major kinds of risks, two major classes of risks that are likely going to affect your business. Now, these two classes can be seen in this way. We have external re-6 and we have internal re-6. So, both internal re-6 or external re-6 can be further classified into those original classes we saw last time. Mind you, last time we saw 4 categories of re-6. One of them was, we say, financial re-6, if you remember our first discussion. Now, whether the risk is an external risk or an internal risk, it can still fall under a financial risk. It can be a financial risk that is external, or it can be a financial risk that is an internal. So let's take note of these two major classes of risks: external risks and internal risks. But those 4 categories that we saw earlier can be applicable in all these 2 classes. Let's look at those 2 classes. External supply chain risks. These are the risks that can be driven by either downstream or upstream activities in an organization or in a supply chain. External risks can be driven by events either upstream or downstream in the supply chain. And those kind of external risks are further divided into some types of risks. We are going to see them. Now, I've mentioned 2 things here: upstream and downstream activities in a supply chain. What are upstream activities in a supply chain? Sylvester. Upstream activities in a supply chain, and somebody should prepare herself to give us downstream activities in a supply chain. Of course, Modesta, because you are the one who has laughed the best. Is there anybody who can give us a hint or an idea to say, okay, we are in a supply chain and we have, of course, a series of activities. But now there are downstream and upstream activities in there. So we just want to understand those 2. Then we proceed. Yes. Let's hear from Eunice. Yes.
We have different organizations, like suppliers, manufacturers, customers, and also. So in the chain you divide. When you are a manufacturing organization, that means the other side, maybe your suppliers can be in the upstream activities. While your customers can be the downstream activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so Sylvester, Eunice came to your rescue. So this is what she has explained. Now, can you polish it up now? Now that at least she has given some kind of guidance. What is this lady saying? What was she saying when it comes to downstream and upstream activities in a supply chain? According to what Eunice has said. What is it? Or you are disagreeing with her? Are you agreeing or you are disagreeing with her?
I think this one should be
No. Come on, wait a minute. See, it was your question. So she voluntarily came to your rescue, saying, no, let me rescue my handsome brother here. at least he should not be troubled this much. So at least she brought in something. So I was saying, okay, are you agreeing with her? If you are, can you polish up whatever she said? Or else, is there anybody who has heard what Eunice said as to what are upstream and downstream supply chain activities? Ladies, did you hear what your colleague said that side? What did she say? In as far as downstream and upstream activities in a supply chain are concerned.
Upstream activities are those rendered by manufacturers to the end users.
Okay.
Yes. And downstream activities are those activities from the end users to manufacturer.
The end users to manufacturers. Okay. All right, fine. According to what he said, here we have the suppliers here. Then we have the producers here. And of course here we have the consumers. Forget about whoever is in between here, because we can have distributors, we can have wholesalers or whoever. We are here. This is where we are. So we want to understand downstream and upstream. That's what we are saying. Literally, there is a word called stream. At times, a small river is also called a stream. When we are saying upstream, it's what we this is upstream. This is a stream. Downstream, the kumusu. This is downstream now. And how much how much affect and how much affect and kumusu. So in this case, let's take this one as a stream. Because this supply chain starts from here, from the suppliers. From the suppliers, the producers, then the consumers that at the end. So all the activities that happen here, from the supplier to the producer here, these are what we call upstream activities. And of course, the activities that happen from here now up to the end consumer, those are what we call downstream activities. Because this chain here, we are considering it, we are looking at it as a stream. So what happens here is upstream and there is downstream. Now, we are saying external risks. Since we are saying the risks in a supply chain are now divided into two major classes or two major groups. Now we are saying external and internal. Now we are starting with external risks. External risks are those risks that affect this business or this entity here, either from upstream or downstream. So all the activities that can affect whatever is happening here, but they are being caused by activities from upstream or else activities from downstream. Those are considered to be external factors. Then we have the second class, which is talking about internal factors. Now, let us look at some of those examples in external or factors or external risks. We have issues to do with demand risks. I'm now giving examples of those risks that are considered to be external risks. Demand risks. Demand at some point can become a risk to your business. And now, demand is always an external factor. Why? Because it is something that is brought in by external players in the supply chain. In this case, we are talking about your customers. The customers are the ones that bring demand, isn't it? Now, demand can fluctuate at any point or at any time, unexpectedly, for some reason. Now, you have manufactured whatever you manufacture, you have produced whatever you produce. Now, based on the demand that you had predicted earlier. You predicted to say, okay, I think by next week, almost 1,000 to 2,000 people are going to buy our stuff here. So let us produce 2,000 pieces for those 2,000 people that are coming. Come next week, you find that those 2,000 people are nowhere to be seen. The chances are high that your products will be wasted. It's either, if they are not going to be, to get expired or maybe to get damaged, you keep them in a warehouse and you're going to spend a lot maintaining those warehouses. So that is a risky, something that you never expected, but has been caused by an external factor. And this external factor is what we call demand. Now demand, if you look at the, here, demand is part of downstream activities because it's to do with your customers on the other side. It's not part of upstream activities. So, unpredictable or misunderstood customer or end user demand can lead into a risk, and that kind of a risk is part of an external one. Now again, we have what we call supply risks as another example of external factors. Now, this one caused by an interruption to the flow of products, whether raw materials or parts within your supply chain. There is a problem with your suppliers, and there has been an interruption in the flow of raw materials from wherever they get them into your organization. This one definitely is going to affect your productivity or production processes in your organization. Why? Because you always have projections to say, tomorrow we're going to produce so much. But now there was an interruption in the flow of raw materials. Your production process is also going to be affected. So this is a risky, because that one will also affect your customers at the other side. This is another example of external risks. Then we have issues to do with environmental risks. Those are also part of external risks. Now, from outside the supply chain, these risks can be caused by natural disasters or some other things, and they can affect your operations. So, what are these environmental factors related to? These are related to probably economic, social, governmental, and of course climatic factors, and of course at times threats to do with terrorism. Those are risks that can be considered to be external risks, and of course environmental risks. Then we have business risks, still part of external ones. These are caused by factors such as suppliers, financial or management stability, or purchase and sale of supplier companies. Those are business risks. You have your supplier, the one who supplies you whatever you always need from him, and all of a sudden the guy has gotten bankrupt, or else something has happened to him and is unable to supply you with whatever he can supply, or else he has sold his businesses to some other owners. His business, that of your supplier, is now being owned by new owners. Now for you to get into an agreement with these new owners, probably it can take some time and it can interrupt your production or your operations. Again, this is an example of external risks. Now we have physical plant risks. A plant, probably we're talking about the machinery. You have your factory plant here, and probably it has a problem or it has an issue with those who are fixing the machine or those who are probably installing the machinery and all. This is also a problem that has not been caused by you. It has been caused by externals and is still being considered as an external factor. Now, moving forward, we have risks that are now considered to be internal. Now, what are internal supply chain risks? Internal supply chain risks, these are the risks that occur due to internal problems within your organization. They are neither caused by upstream or downstream activities, but are caused by a number of factors within your organization. But now, the difference between external factors, external risks and internal risks, is that the internal risks can easily be handled. You can easily handle them. Why? Because they are within your own organization, unlike external ones. Because most of the external factors are always beyond your control. All what you need to do is just to find alternatives. For example, we have seen what we called an external, part of an external risk. One example was environmental risks. And on environmental risks, we saw what is called terrorism, issues to do with terrorism. Or else the road has been damaged elsewhere, the road that used to bring you the resources. That is a problem beyond your control. But what do? The only thing you can do is to find an alternative. Say, okay, I didn't say what on because of Madison Sawina or Sabina. Or else, I think it wasn't Sawina, it is Sabina. Those are external risks. You can't actually control them. You can only find an alternative wherever possible. Whereas with internal risks, at least these ones can easily be mitigated because they are happening within your business control. Now, here we also have some examples of these ones. We have manufacturing risks. That is another example of an internal risk. So this one can be caused by disruptions of internal operations or processes, and you cannot blame anybody from outside for this kind of a problem. That's an internal one. And of course, the business risks, we also have business risks. In external ones, we have seen business risks, but these are mostly to do with the suppliers. It's like the suppliers, they have so we are saying we have now some examples of internal risks. Now, one of them, we said manufacturing, we have seen that one. Then we have what we call business risks. Now, what kind of business risks are these ones? There can be situations whereby the company is changing its personnel, my employees, or else even management itself is changing. Of course, the reporting structures and maybe general business processes, they are being changed. These ones can bring or can have potential disruptions, or can bring in some disruptions to your day-to-day operations because of those changes. So whenever disruptions occur due to these changes that are happening within, such kind of risks can be considered to be internal ones, because all these changes are not being caused by external factors. Of course, maybe in one or the other, indirectly can be caused by external factors, maybe, if you can try to find cases, but the chances are these changes are always caused by you and you yourself within your organization. And if you are to mitigate the impact of such risks, you can easily do so. Why? Because this is happening within. Then we have risks to do with planning and control. Issues to do with planning and control. These are again internal ones. So this can be caused by inadequate assessment of planning, which amount to ineffective management. Now an issue to do with strategic planning. You were planning on how best you can move your business from this level to the other level, but you overlooked some other important aspects. Because of that, at the end of the day, you have seen that you are failing to manage the affairs of your entity or your business. Why? Because the planning was not effective enough. There was poor planning, so to say, why you overlooked some important things. So that kind of a risk that comes in due to poor planning and of course probably poor control measures in place is also an example of an internal risk. It is caused due to internal factors. Mitigation and contingency risks, another example, this one. Mitigation and contingency risks. Now, what causes this kind of a risk? This one is caused by not putting contingencies. What is a contingency? It's like an alternative, a response plan anyway. So this one is caused by not putting contingencies in place in case something goes wrong. So we had a risk in terms of fire. Moto wachitika pamalo pano potochera zinthu. Koma, it has transpired that there were no measures in place to cushion ourselves from this kind of a risk. So the original risk here is the fire itself. But now you didn't have alternatives in place, or else you didn't have measures in place to respond to this kind of a risk. Now, since you didn't have measures in place, you find that the risk, the impact of the risk has escalated. Now, the risk now that you are looking at after the initial risk here is this one of not having a contingency or having an alternative. Itapia building ngatimene, we were supposed to have an alternative unautokheja we anthu amene timagwira ntchitomo kapena noti ma operations amachitikamu tisamuka tisikachitiromo kani mutenti. So by kusamuka muno kapita mutenti muno, that's an alternative, that is a contingency. So meaning to say, apart from the risk that has happened here since denga lirapya, kumanobe business yathu ipitirira since we have an alternative that side, since we have a contingency. So risk tisingoyenga nona okay building enapya tikonze so tono ngandama zaso konzera koma ntchito yathu uko ikupitirira. But now ukukoso kulibe contingency plan, we don't have an alternative. It means even ntchito yomwe timagwira sipitiriraso. Now tikuyangana zinthu ziwiri pamene tikonze dengali, at the same time our operations should also continue that side, but now they are being discontinued. Why? Because we didn't have the alternative, we didn't have the contingency. So if you look at that one, the discontinuation of our operations here is another risk that has been caused due to the absence of contingency plans or alternatives. So that kind of a risk is an external, is an example of an internal risk. We had a risk here, moto watiagira. Komano, this one risk in we are failing to respond because we didn't have put measures, we didn't put measures in place. That one is another internal one. Then we have another example of an internal risk. This one is cultural risks. Cultural risks. Now, what are these cultural risks? These cultural risks are caused by the business's cultural tendency to hide or delay negative information. Such businesses are generally slower to react when impacted by unexpected events. So, cultural risks, some of the cultures that exist in many businesses and of course impact those businesses negatively are bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, that tendency of probably hiding some information or else taking time to respond to some situations. I go to him, then he says, I'm not responsible for that. I think I'm going to I number yonti. Why is also I think I'm not responsible for that. You know, so you take a lot of time because there's a lot of bureaucracy. There is a lot of stages to be reached in order for something to be executed. So it's kind of a culture, and in many organizations, that culture has always been there. Good example is how government departments always work. If you go to, let's say, Capitol Hill, or maybe you want to access some assistance from a public office, from a government office, you face such kind of situations whereby you go to this office, they will tell you to say, no, we are not responsible for that. It is Mr. So and so who is responsible. So and so on and so forth. It's a culture, and that one we call it bureaucracy, and that one can lead into a risk that is considered to be a cultural risk, and an example of internal supply chain risks. So such cultures, such bureaucracies makes it difficult for leaders in an organization to respond to situations, to respond to things when they occur. So that is another example of an external, an internal risk from the two classes of risks that we are seeing here. All right, now going back to approaches to decision making under uncertain situations. We are back there now. We said we have three approaches, and those approaches, we saw them. We said risk analysis, and the second one was, what did we call it?
Decision tree.
Decision tree. And the third one was reference theory. Okay, so can you take preference theory for us? Write it down. And can you take decision tree for us? Write it down. And risk analysis. Who is going to take risk analysis? A volunteer. So you are taking risk analysis. Okay. We want us to understand these three approaches to decision making under uncertainty. So what I'm trying to look at here is that you people, those questions that you've taken, do your own research and do your own summaries on the same. And when we meet next time, you are going to present these ones to each one of us to say, okay, now when we are saying preference theory, when it comes to decision making and uncertainty, what is it and what does it take? So probably you shall help us on that one. And of course, those with risk analysis shall also have to do the same. So, okay, when it comes to risk analysis in decision making and uncertainty, actually this is what happens. And if at all, those approaches, they have their weaknesses and their strength. It can be, and it will be good for you to also add such kind of spices. You say, okay, risk analysis, this is risk analysis. We do ABCD, and of course here are the weaknesses, and of course here are the strengths of this one. Preference theory, the same thing, and of course decision tree. With decision tree, this is what we do. We do ABCD, and of course using this approach, here are the weaknesses and here are the strengths of this kind of an approach. So having said this, I feel for today let's have a small break up until we meet again and we discuss these three approaches. Then after that we shall go to the next chapter. Unless there's something that we need to add or to subtract or to comment, I think we can do so. Here's the floor for us. Yes, Sylvester, you want to say something? Or you are still thinking? You are still thinking? Okay. So while he is still thinking, is there anybody who wants to give us something? A question, a comment, or an addition or something like that, based on what we were discussing here? All right. Now, listen. How many of us are not doing service management? You're not doing, right? Who else? You're also not doing. And only these two, isn't it? Oh, you're also not doing. All right. In the morning, from 8 to 10, what did you have, you people? Nothing. Okay. See, I was suggesting that we can be having this one at 8 to 10. This one, the one that we were discussing, at 8 to 10. So that the next class that we are going to have this afternoon, at least we can take it from 10 to 12 for the sake of your colleagues. So probably this request can go to 3 of you who are not having service management. That is it possible that at least we can be meeting at 8? It's fine, right? Okay, so otherwise let's do like this. From Monday next week, this one we should be meeting at 8, so that at least 8 to 10 then we're done. So that from 10 to 12 we'll be dealing with those that are having the other things, for example, service management. Is it a deal? Of course, I was pleading to the 3, so I think they have agreed. So that at least by 12, all of us, we are fine. Otherwise, if this is, if there is no any other business, then at least let us call it. Let us call it for the day. Yeah, thanks so much.